Haha. This was further than we got last time.
We get our started. Well,
Well, we do too, but every once in a while, like, something will happen.
you guys rent out your room? Like,
I don't think so.
Is there other people's square up your time?
yeah.
We hold commission meetings and other things, and that at times won't.
Yeah, that's what I mean, we don't rent it out when we let.
Something will happen. There you go.
You guys rent out your room?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
All right. We hold commission meetings and other things.
I don't know why it's delayed.
Yeah, that's what you think.
Maybe if you just mute, yeah, there you go.
I just went to that, yeah. Okay, are you guys okay seeing yourselves while we have this conversation?
Sure.
Okay, then we are all set.
All right, very good. We'll go ahead and call our Santa Cruz City County Libraries Facilities Financing Authority Board and Library Joint Powers Authority Board joint regular meeting to order on December 18th at 9:05. We have a roll call.
Yes, we have Matt Heffiker,
Present.
Molly Liddell. Here. Jamie Goldstein.
Here.
And Nicole Coburn is not here.
All right, very good. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Yep. No, sir. Okay. Public comment. Any member of the community may address the board during the public comment period on any consent calendar item on today's agenda. Or any topic not on today's agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the JPA.
Matt,
Yes,
I do.
please.
Thank you. Good morning. Morning. I'm Tony Campbell, and I am the chair of the Friends of the Capitola Library. I'm here to talk with the LJPA this morning about our offer to create an endowment for the Santa Cruz Public Library System. The Friends of the Public Library were established, the group was established in 1979 with the mission of supporting the library system through fundraising, through advocacy, and through volunteer service. And the structure of the Friends is to encourage the chapters at each of the 10 branches. And we are one of those subgroups of the Friends. The initial fundraising focus of the Capitola chapter following the passage of Measure S was to support the capital campaign for the city of Capitola for the library, which, as you know, Jamie knows painfully, opened in 2021, and with a contribution of about $550,000 that were raised through donations. Since then, the primary source of revenue for the Capitola Friends has been our bookstore in the mall, where we've been operating for about 7 years, using donated space, donated books, and of course, volunteer help. In recent years, we have earned about $115,000 annually, selling books, $1 and $2 a piece. With the completion of the library, the Capitola Friends set as their next goal, funding the installation of solar panels and storage batteries at the Capitola Library. And originally, in the beginning designs of the building, a solar installation was included, but you know how things go. It was excluded from the final plans for budgetary limitations. So, with the pledged support of the Capitola Friends, the solar installation is now underway. Quite literally, this week, Christopher can tell you, this week, next week, it's very exciting. Anyway, with the completion, the bulk of the completion has to be finished this year, and it should go live the first month of 2026. The estimated cost of that project is just under $500,000, and it is being entirely covered by the Capitola Friends. Once operational, the estimated energy savings will be somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000 a year. which will benefit the operational budget for the whole library system. So we paid for that. The Capitola Friends still have about $200,000 available in bookstore funds. And we've discussed how we would like to use those funds. The unanimous decision of the Capitola Friends has been to offer $200,000 to establish an endowment for the benefit of the library system. And I would note that $200,000 can reach close to $350,000 if we get the 30% federal rebate on the solar project, which Sandbar Electric thinks is going to happen. Okay, so on September 18th, I met at the Community Foundation with Susan True, Christopher Platt, and Sarah Beck, and presented the offer that the Capitola Friends have made to start an endowment for the library. The endowment contract would be between the foundation and the library JPA. The role of the Friends is that of a donor of our funds. While not huge, the value of an endowment is its potential for growth over time and as an attractive incentive for future donations. The distribution paid by the Community Foundation is 3.75%. And it's calculated on the average of the fund balance, that is principal and earnings, over 12 trailing quarters. With just our base contribution of $200,000, that's $7,500 annually that would be added to the overall library budget. With the federal rebate, that would go up to something over $12,000 annually. It's now 3 months after the September discussion. The Friends Board is still considering whether to release our funds while they investigate whether the Community Foundation is an appropriate place for an endowment, whether they agree with the Foundation's standard endowment contract, and indeed, whether they will release our funds at all. Our offer, curiously, has not been agendized for action by the Friends Board. We know that Jamie favors the endowment because I talked to him before Jamie. I talked to him shortly after the September meeting. We also know that Nicole favors the idea of an endowment. We talked with her a few weeks ago, and we talked with her again yesterday, where she reiterated her support for the endowment and has offered the Friends whatever information the county could provide and any technical support. We know that we've heard Christopher say that a useful endowment is about $1 million, and we don't disagree. Yes, the more the merrier, right? But we happen to have $200,000 now. And if you think back to the 46 years that the Friends have been in operation, what if they had established an endowment 46 years ago? Where would we be now? What about 20 years ago or even 10 years ago? So thinking to the future, we think that an endowment is a good use of our $200,000. And we are asking your board to seriously consider this proposal and encourage the establishment of an endowment. This is not an open-ended offer. Capitola chapter has asked the Friends Board to agendize this action no later than its January 2026 meeting. The board so far has given no indication of whether they'll do as we asked. We hope that you can help in bringing this thing into fruition. Susan True or I would be happy to meet with any of you if you want any background information, any specifics about an endowment, anything having to do with the endowment. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for those comments, Mrs. Campbell. And my family and I are regulars at the Capitola bookshop store. Appreciate all the work that the Friends of Capitola have done in support of the Capitola branch and the library system as a whole.
We appreciate your coming to our store and patronizing us, so thank you.
Thanks for being here today.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other public comments? All right, we are moving on to our report by the library director.
So just a few things from the report, and again, just a reminder, this is our first joint meeting, so I've included information that's pertinent both to the LFFA and the LJPA here. A few things I just want to highlight from my report. One is to acknowledge the retirement of Carlos Silva, our IT manager. He's retiring at the end of this month is his last day. So we have worked with city HR to expedite his replacement, and we currently have a really strong candidate pool of over 47 applicants that we just spent a week ranking. So hopefully we'll be able to work towards replacing him. But that's a pretty key position. So just making sure you're aware of that. On our facilities, I'm going to highlight a couple of things. First of all, thank you, Tony, for bringing up the solar project. That is starting in earnest next week. Laura has been out there and walked out with the contractor to make sure that the library can still be open, and there's cranes bringing things up and over the roof and all that kind of stuff, and that they're, you know, the safety that we'll be watching for. But that should go fairly smoothly and fairly quickly according to them. And then the other thing, this Saturday, I gave you guys a heads up in an earlier report. America by Design is a TV show group that does kind of architectural reviews of interesting buildings and spaces. And so they've chosen to do our Boulder Creek Library. They were out filming last month, and it's going to be screened this Saturday on CBS Evening News. It's their season 5, episode 3. It'll also be available on the CBS News website and other kinds of apps like Amazon Prime and Paramount Plus. My understanding is they're doing like 5 different buildings or locations around the Western US, and we're one of them, and I think we get maybe 10 minutes. It's a very architectural focus. So it's not about library, it's more about the building, but they did a nice job. So, and they're gonna do La Selva Beach next. I think they want to do 2 small ones. And then a couple of other things. Despite Carlos Silva leaving, our website migration continues. So where we are right now, the study rooms can now be bookable by the general public. We started with the meeting rooms. We launched the study rooms as a soft launch this month, and spread the word more widely with our mid-month newsletter. And it's so far going fairly smoothly. There were some initial questions, but we know that's a really popular resource for people who use the libraries, especially the renovated libraries. And then the mobile app is going live in January to the public. There's some few things that Communico is working on for us, but again, that's going to be very nice because we know a lot of people will use the app to book study rooms. And finally, the expanded library hours will go into effect the beginning of February. That's again at Scotts Valley. Aptos get extra hours during the week, and that Felton and Capitola get Sunday hours. We're just the final piece in that puzzle is the new branch manager for Capitola, which we're actively interviewing for. Those are the big things from my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
No, thanks.
Did we take public comment? We're up now. Okay. Well, excited to see the website migration moving forward, and looking forward to having the mobile app launch. I think it will be widely used. So good news. All right, item F, report by Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I just have a few updates for you. We're really excited. We are in our final revisions of our strategic planning process, and we're ready for early in the year when the library strategic plan is ready for us to align with it. So we've got, great work happening in the committees on that, and we're looking forward to sharing it. We also have a new literacy fund committee, which, as you all know, we made a really proud contribution to the literacy work of the library this year, and we are operationalizing it now. We have a committee that has representation across our whole organization, and we're really shifting a lot of our fundraising structure because of this, and it's going to allow us to transition from the capital campaign being a big focus to really being able to look at library program needs. So this is going to be evolving soon, and we're excited to get the next library request early in the year. And I just got a couple of campaign updates. Right now, we are in our end of year campaign, which is funding operations for next year, a variety of unrestricted needs. We are at 63,000 right now of our 75,000 goal, so we might need to up that goal next time. I mean, if we're gonna do this well before
Might as well.
the last minute givers who, like to give on the last days of the year. So hopefully we'll exceed our goal this year. The downtown capital campaign is really doing well right now. We're at 2,573,000 approximately. And we have a Santa Cruz Gives campaign going separately right now that is also going to be funneling into that. I don't want to quote a number on that just because it's separate and it'll be coming in January. So, but also promising.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you for those updates and all the work on behalf of the Friends.
Can I ask one question?
Yes,
What's the target for capital campaign for Maine?
Oh, from us is 3 million.
Just 3, and you
Yeah.
said 2.5.
on track to blow through it. Fingers crossed.
So, yeah.
It's now entered the minutes, so yeah.
Very good. Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you. All right, moving on to item G, report by Library Advisory Commission.
No report. on my
No
consent.
report today. Moving along. Library Facilities Financing Authority Board. So moving on to other portion of our meeting. And starting off with the consent calendar. Any comments or questions on the consent agenda? Entertain a motion.
Sorry, do we still have that? This is a question, the summer meeting, August one? No, you moved it.
For the annual meeting.
The one that I never read.
Okay.
I was thinking,
We actually listened to you twice.
there's a third thing. It's on one agenda.
Now I'm getting worried.
I know.
All right.
I'll move consent.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Do we need a roll call? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Moving on to general business. Item I, very exciting, election of chair and vice chair for 2026. And we have a staff recommendation.
Yes, if we're going with the normal rota, then Scott Sally would take over chair and the county would take over vice chair.
Someone's not present.
Oh, you can skip me.
She was made aware yesterday.
I would move Molly Ligo as chair for next calendar year and Nicole Coburn as vice chair.
Seeing as Molly did a great job filling in for me. I would second that.
Thanks, Matt.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so moved.
It wasn't her first year.
She's done it over the years, I think.
Yeah.
Item C, project updates and comments by board members. Any updates or comments from the board?
So. I can't turn this into an agenda item, but I'm just sort of thinking about this endowment issue. I'm wondering if maybe we couldn't have a future agenda item, talking a little bit sort of about how library endowments work. I'm also thinking about the fundraising campaign the Friends are working on for Maine, which is obviously so important. And, I can see some tension between those two ideas, and there's other, maybe the board members, we could all do a little bit of thinking about, how we close that gap. But yeah, maybe a future agenda item would be appreciated to kind of learn a little bit more endowments and how they work, and maybe endowments we already have and challenges moving forward, advantages moving forward, things like that.
I think that'd be helpful, and I would just add, I think as part of that discussion, getting a better understanding of kind of where the Friends stand on the issue, and sounds like the board's had some discussion around it, and getting a better sense of that context as well. Okay, moving on to item 3, this is for the Library Joint Powers Authority, starting off with consent. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda from the board?
Move approval?
Second,
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to our general business items, starting off with the strategic planning update.
So I have a brief PowerPoint.
Stay right where
Can I stay right here?
You can.
Awesome.
You know, to share our screen.
Are we good to go?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so this is an update on where we are with the staff on our strategic planning work that we're doing with the consultant. We're working with Baton Global, who's doing a great job of keeping us on task and on time. And what they came back with in October was key findings from a lot of the information gathering phase, and they gave us a deck 139 slides long. You're getting the very, very condensed version of that today. I just want to bring you up to date on where we're going. A reminder of how we gathered this information, 4 main avenues, interviews and focus groups, which this table participated in and back in, well, individually back in the summer. That kind of kicked the work off. We did surveys of library staff and partner organizations, and just about every library staff member filled out a survey response, which was very, very useful. You'll see that in the data. We did a community survey. All 22 zip codes of our service area responded. It was a really strong response. Most of the response are people who already use the libraries heavily today. You'll see that in the information as well. And then we did choose a little baker's dozen of peer libraries about our size, our structure, or our makeup in our geographic area and across the country. And that was basically to kind of do a temperature check on where we've been going and where we want to go. So this is the kind of summary of the findings, and the structure of this is over on the left. You see which of those 4 areas informed the findings. There's findings in the middle, and on the right, the consultants put in their own recommendations to start conversation. We didn't take all of their recommendations. Some of them we modified, some of them we decided not to do, but it kind of helped the strategic planning committee that we put together start to feed off those findings. This first one is patron satisfaction. They did net promoter scores questions in their surveys, and our overall net promoter score is 67. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. Are you familiar with the net promoter score? It's used a lot in business now, and it's a very basic series of questions that basically boils down to, would you recommend the library to a friend or family member? And it ranks from positive 100 to negative 100. A lot of businesses that use it hover around 0 to like 30 or 40. I was looking up this morning, McDonald's is 19, Verizon is 0, CVS retail is 60. And so nonprofits do tend to rank a little bit higher because there's more of an emotional connection, but 67 is the second highest that the consultant told us that they've seen. So that's a good place to start. We did a general survey around our library purpose, and this was to acknowledge that the 3 big places we spend money as an organization are on program, collections, and space. And we just wanted to see, does one of those rise above the others in terms of like how we would decide where to funnel overall funds? What we learned from our community is they like all of them, and they just want more of all of them. So that kind of gave us a little bit of work to do in understanding where we could really have an impact or move forward. We also looked very closely at workplace culture, and again, that staff engagement came through very clearly here. The net promoter from staff is 74, which again is really good. Staff are proud to work here. They're really engaged with what they do. That doesn't mean that they didn't bring up issues. So there's some that aren't surprises, such as safety. And then also one that pops up in a lot of strategic surveys, which is the level of staffing. We've had a number of vacancies this year, and that contributes to a feeling of burnout or having to do more than you normally do. And so that has informed some of the strategic work that we'll be doing going forward. Library hours, we're already expanding library hours. This one also comes up a lot in my experience. People just want more, and a lot of it is about access. So we're looking at this from other angles, and one of them, the tactical one that we're going to be considering is like Amazon style pickup boxes. that we could come into agreement with other areas around the county or our jurisdictions and maybe stick one in front of a post office or stick one, that's easily accessible. If you're not able, a lot of our collection use is through holds, and if you're not able to get to the library when it's open to pick up your holds, I think there's a 24/7 option, and Monterey City just put in 2 of these in different parts of Monterey, so we're already talking with them about how well that they think that will go. This one will be no surprise, growing our service to our Hispanic population. This came up in previous strategic plans, I know, in this organization. And one of the things that was said to me by a staff member very cogently at the beginning of this and has panned out is we've been really good at reaching out to our Hispanic organizations and communities once every 3 to 5 years to ask them what we should be doing for them. And expecting them to open their hearts and minds, and they don't. And this year, there have been other pressures and reasons why that hasn't happened. So the focus that you'll see that we'll be working for with this population is actually relationship building over the next 3 years. One key thing that we're looking at is putting together an advisory group. We have teen advisory groups in 3 locations, reaching out to those agencies and influencers in these communities in our service area to come together on a regular basis and see how we're doing and what we can be doing. So that 3 years from now, when we're doing this again, we're actually starting from a higher ground. Vulnerable populations are coming up, and we're defining this term in this context as people experiencing housing issues or mental health issues or addiction issues or lack of job, those kinds of things. This came out bright and clear in a lot of the survey data. And again, a whole lot of it is a surprise. But we do have some tactical things we'd like to work on moving forward. You'll see in the recommendations over there, there's one that's like establish a separate daycare center. We're not doing that. And the reason I say that out loud is not just because that's not our job, but part of the criteria we use in our strategic planning is when we're coming up with an idea of what we should be doing going forward, is the library best place to be the most successful service delivery or program delivery of that service? And if we're not, but there's a need, is there a partner that we can work with in conjunction to, again, be the best delivery vehicle for that service? And if it's not, then we're just not going to do it. Why would we step into a space and do it in a poor way? So that's an example of that. Awareness and marketing also comes up a lot. One of the things, we do a lot of stuff in this library, and people are consistently surprised that we offer ebooks, or your favorite example of being 3 blocks away from the downtown site and someone being surprised that we're putting a new library there. Like there's just always more awareness that we can be building. So we're looking at tactically building in awareness components in every single strategic charter that we build out. Programming alignment, this you've heard before in your previous strategic plan. This is part of the awareness issue. We offered over 4,700 program sessions in the last fiscal year across 350 topics. I don't know what those 350 topics are off the top of my head. So yes, having everyone understand everything that we offer is an issue. But what we want to do is take the work that was started on this in the current strategic plan and extend it into the new one to actually put arms around our program offering. What is the right amount of programming we're offering? Who are we partnering with? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of libraries have shifted to program emphasis in the last 10 years, and part of the reason for that was to activate empty rooms. Meeting rooms were sitting empty, and so why not put program into that? Well, our meeting rooms are no longer sitting empty, so we can kind of tactically look at this going forward. And then finally, partnerships. This is our highest net promoter score. Our partners value us really highly, and if we had capacity, we could take on more partnerships. Currently, we have 21 formal partnerships. We're looking at that structure right now and the types of MOUs that we put in place, especially in terms of partnership creep, where something is very successful and they want to expand. Are we best positioned to do that, and where do we do that and not do that? But this is really, really important to us. This is our embedding ourselves into our communities in a structured way. And this is, I always say, if we're in a bad situation at some point, it's our partners who will help rescue us, right? It's, all boats, water helps all boats float, and those relationships really come to bear later on. A couple of other key information points, you can barely see this. But again, when you ask people what they want more of, the top three here are more books, more programs, and more hours. And that, if you surveyed any library, those would always be at the top. Again, we're kind of at capacity. So the way we're looking at these things as we build out our priorities is maximizing. You know, let's maximize our collections. Are they performing the way they should? Maximizing the space use and maximizing our programs. A little bit further down there, you will see book lockers listed. And then curious to me, there's a number of people who were curious about legal information services, which tells me maybe we can work with the county law library to build their awareness too. And then from our staff and our partners, we asked about services to demographic groups, and this is hard to see, so my apologies, but it ranks from basically poor service to excellent service. And the ones that stick out to me, I look at the poor and the adequate levels of service, and the ones that stick out to me that we could be doing better from their perspective. And again, these are the staff who are on the front desks every day seeing who's coming in our buildings. Our working families, teens, and kind of college age patrons. And then further down, of course, no surprise, homeless or people with limited income. And then even further down, again, no surprise, anyone who speaks another language is an immigrant, Hispanic, African-American. Those are areas where we could be doing better. And this isn't to say we're not trying, and maybe some of those we just need to better define what good looks like. But those are areas we're looking at. And then finally, these are the peer libraries we compared ourselves to. Some in California about our size, and then some across the country. And in terms of a temperature check, this is what they told us that they're investing in: meeting rooms and study rooms. So check that box. Children's programming, which we do a heck of a lot of; digital collections, partnerships, and library of things. Those are kinds of things that are trending upward. And we have robust participation in all of them. And then the things that are contracting, again, no surprise: reference services, disk collections, internet computers on site, because more people are bringing in their own devices. And then genealogy, I just want to say out loud, we have a really great relationship with the Genealogical Society here in Santa Cruz and in this building, and that's going nowhere. So I don't want this to be interpreted as we're de-investing in genealogy. That's very, very important. But as a temperature check, this is pretty reassuring. We did put together a strategic planning committee. This is made up of leadership, but also staff from all levels around the organization. They've been coming together formally weekly since we got this data and working individually in between to start putting together projects that we can specifically work on and group into strategic goals. Again, hard to see, but this is the way this is grouping. We've got like 3 at the top that are around collections, maximizing our collections, better defining our library of things, and developing a robust strategy around our digital offering. And then those other areas are all very similar, and those will come together under strategic goals as we get to that part of the work. And then there is staff facing, kind of near the middle bottom, stronger communication, better outcomes is an internal one. Communication comes up a lot when you ask survey questions. And there are some tangible opportunities for improvement here in terms of engaging with staff as within the organization, and then the organizational assessment, which we'll embark on after the strategic plan is adopted. Once we know what we want to do over the next 3 years, are we best organized to deliver? And then finally, this is where we are in the process. We are in the project chartering process where we're building out these projects, identifying the resources that are needed, the goals, the outcomes, the KPIs, who they'll serve, yada, yada, yada. We are working through the holidays on this. And the goal is to have these projects identified and scheduled, which year they will move into by early January. That allows us then to create the scorecard. A lot of this strategic plan, like a lot of it, will be scorecard driven using data and other information. And we will use a very simple green, yellow, red identifier of where the projects stand so that we can look at it. And especially when I'm talking about it with you guys, you can better clearly understand how we are progressing on these. The goal is to I will take a version of this to the advisory commission in January. Once we have the strategic plan baked, for approval. We'll take it to the advisory commission again, run it by staff, and then also then finally bring it to you guys for a final comment and adoption at the spring meeting. And that is the strategic plan update. I went through that very, very quickly. But if you have any questions or insights at the moment, I'm happy to take them, or you guys can always reach out individually.
That's a lot of great information you covered in a short period of time, so thank you. Any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions, just a comment. I think it's really great that you're not only getting the local feedback, but then also benchmarking against other library systems, just to make sure that we're learning and we're knowing kind of what the trends are. And so you're very quick about kind of who those systems were, but yeah, I think that's a great checkpoint in how we're assessing what we're doing.
And it's interesting, in addition to those, the Urban Libraries Council, which is larger library systems across the country, recently put out an insights report for the year. And they also saw meeting rooms and community spaces skyrocketing in the last year. So this tells me that the decision-making that this organization has been making for the last 10 years has been worthwhile and informed, because you guys made those decisions a decade ago when you were designing your new library.
Love to see how much robust engagement there's been with the library staff as well, to have that strong of a response to the survey data, as well as the community input that you all have collected to help inform the plan itself. Not surprising to see the scores on there at all, but certainly encouraging to see that level of commitment to the organization. So, Jeremy.
One question is, I think we may have talked a little bit about this last time with the strategic plan, and I know that this is something this library is going to struggle with a little bit, is kind of the relationship between libraries and like rec departments. Because in some ways, like, we provide very similar services, and yet they sort of come at the same issue, often from very different directions. Our rec programs are largely fee for service, self-funded, whereas libraries are free. I mean, that's sort of philosophical core. Public good, but nevertheless, I've always felt like there's more opportunity for collaboration. It's like we only have so much space for our rec facilities. I don't know about you guys in your cities, but in Capitola, we're sort of full to the gills in terms of actually being able to make offerings to the community. People always want more and so I understand there's an inherent tension, and I guess just, as you think about the strategic plan and think about the update, are there new directions? Are there opportunities that other jurisdictions have found to kind of bridge that divide, find a little connection point? And I'm glad you brought that up, Jamie, and I kind of alluded to it in my director's report. Along those lines, and Molly, I told you this, we were having conversations with Scotts Valley Group, a Boys and Girls Club, right? We have some very rambunctious after-school activities in the Scotts Valley Library, which is not a new thing. In fact, there was another
release day.
Early release day, yes. I've been in Capitola.
But so we met with the Scotts Valley Boys and Girls and Lee Dubois, and that's the same kind of thing, right? It's an enrollment base. They take a lot of information from the kids that they enroll and assume a local curriculum for them. And traditionally, that's kind of been where the cutoff has been, right? Because we have a very strong philosophical feeling this way, and they have to make ends meet in a different way. And what we've agreed to do in the Scotts Valley situation is see if we can find a middle ground that we can test out and solve the actual problem or the actual need that's happening under our noses, rather than taking a side at the other side of the table and just not having a conversation. That may open up some potential further cooperations or partnerships with the city, which I know we've had conversations about, or with the company and more with the company. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, definitely potential there, for sure. Christopher, one of the metrics we had on there where we were asking folks what they'd like to see more of or what they want more investment in, and materials is always like one of the top ones. Do you have a sense, just on average, our wait times or demand for certain materials, how that compares with it? It kind of would seem to indicate that folks feel like they're not getting things fast enough, or they're on hold for an item for maybe longer than they would expect. Can you speak to that?
A few things. Yes. And there's a long backstory to my own experience with this stuff. I would not say we're completely out of the norm here in Santa Cruz. A lot of the wait times happen either on very unique items, so it's a year to wait for a telescope right now. But for the really popular new books that are coming out, between the books that we order as normal parts of the collections and then our lucky day, which is non-reservable, we have a pretty good response time for them. The challenge is mostly with our e-collection. And last year, you'll remember you approved an extra $250,000 investment in E to knock down the holds list, which had an effect and lasted for maybe 8 months. So it's an expensive endeavor, right? And so what we're talking about when we say maximizing our collections is understanding, again, going back to the drawing board, are we bringing in the right titles? Are we bringing in the right materials in the right balance and putting them in the right places, both physical and digital? I think we need that information before we make any further recommendations or changes, because we could drop another $1 million into the materials budget easily, but that may not be the right investment to make. The other thing I'll say, 2 things, just anecdotally, is one thing I tell people a lot is that you walk into our branches and, you know, we, for a variety of reasons, we've designed our libraries to be safer and more accessible. So the shelves are no longer running up to the ceilings and those kinds of things, and it feels like less books. But a lot of the books we have, you can no longer see with the naked eye because they're on your device. And we have over 53,000 items in our Overdrive ebook collection alone. That doesn't count the Hoopla and all the other stuff that we have. So that's some people who are kind of traditional library users. It's useful to remind them of that. And then there was a disruption this year just in the book wholesaler environment with a major wholesaler that we were already moving away from. Thank you, Sarah. Went out of business, literally 150-year-old organization that I used to work for back in the day. Just went belly up and left a lot of libraries in the lurch, and that impacted some of our deliverables this year because their arrangements with their publishers also went belly up. And so, you know, orders that we had for certain popular titles took longer to get because we had to move them to a different vendor, those kinds of things. But that's just a blip this year. And just about every public library in the country has a version of that this year because of that situation. I do want to commend Sarah Harbison though, because she was already moving us away from that vendor. So we're in a much better position than many of the other public libraries who were stuck with opening day collections that are now not going to arrive. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, even with those investments, it just feels like demand continues to grow. I was reading an article the other day that book sales nationwide are up.
Yeah.
And it's probably an indication of folks maybe trying to tune out of other things and engage in a more healthy pastime.
Well,
But good to hear that you guys are tracking on all of that.
yeah, and I'll just react really quickly to that as well. We all know, and every library understands this and prepares for this. And in Massachusetts, Library Network just put out a nice infographic on this. When the economy starts tanking, and were that to happen here, we all know that libraries will go up because people will stop buying things for those that they can get them for free. So that's another.
Great, thanks for all that info. Do we have any public comment on this item? Rumor online. Are we taking action on this, or is this just an update? Okay.
The next two are just updates.
Okay, moving on to collections audit update. That sounds exciting.
Sarah,
I'll try to make it.
yours is much quicker.
We're all data nerds, so we like this stuff.
Okay, good. I think there's only one chart in here, though.
I have a clicker for you.
Oh,
Look at that. That's great.
No,
This one's big.
I'm making it work.
You were just trying to.
And I'll point out while we're getting this set up, this is a deliverable from the current strategic plan, which was to deliver an audit. So we're kind of tying a bow around that.
Okay, so in a couple of months ago, we worked with a company called Ingram, who is now our primary book vendor, to perform what's called a diversity audit for us.
If you point it towards me, it should go.
Oh, no. You can click for
I can
me.
click for you. Yeah, I will
There
have
aren't
it.
too many
Oh,
slides.
maybe. There we go. Okay.
Thanks, Devin. Okay, so a little background. Our collection development policy states that we should build a diverse and inclusive collection. So to check on that, we worked with Ingram to perform this diversity audit, just to check and see how diverse and inclusive our collection is. So it creates a baseline for measurement as we move into the new strategic plan, which will be really helpful, just a temperature check of where we are right now. And as Christopher mentioned, it is a deliverable from the current strategic plan. Part of the DEI plan stated that we should develop an audit plan for the library's collection. So we select, as I mentioned, we selected Ingram as we're establishing a new relationship with this vendor, and they have a great product, and they do diversity audits for a lot of public libraries across the country. So we submitted a file of the ISBNs of the books that we currently have in our collection, and I say books because it's print only. They didn't take any of our media into consideration. And the other thing I should mention is it's English only, so our Spanish collection wasn't included in the results. We liked what Ingram offered though, because it's a proprietary database that's been built by collection development librarians. So they're not just using the BISAC or the subject headings. There's a lot of human involvement in it and professional expertise in building their database. Yeah, so they have identified 11 diverse categories that they include when they audit library collections. And I won't read them all to you, but these are the 11 categories. There are, you know what, I'll just mention a little bit, sorry, about how they determine what fits into these categories, because that part was really interesting to me. They, as I mentioned, they define diverse based on that proprietary database that they have. Sometimes titles will cross multiple of these categories. And they'll count toward, like one book could count toward multiple categories. They often take a lot of care into choosing what books fit into these different categories. So an example that they give is To Kill a Mockingbird is not marked Black interest because it is written from a white perspective. They give the example to a book written by an author who identifies as Christian, who wrote an inspirational title that takes place during the Holocaust in Germany, would not be marked Jewish interest because it's a Christian viewpoint, not Jewish. So they really take a lot of effort into making sure that they're finding the right category for each of the books. A couple of exceptions that they have, they did not include the title American Dirt as multicultural or Latine interest because it's been controversial for stereotyping. So they really try hard not to get those stereotyping titles into these categories. So we were pleased to find that we rank in the 90th percentile across other public libraries across the country. And that means that we have one of the most diverse collections, which is great. So that public library average percentage of inclusive items per Ingram is 15%. Overall, we have 20% inclusive items across all of our collection, which is all audiences. No surprise, the teen collection is the most diverse. Yeah, so we're pleased to find we're 90th percentile, and we'll do this again. So we'll find out what's next. So these are the top 4 of the 11 diverse categories that they found across our collection. And so Latine is 4th category for us, and just keeping in mind that the Spanish language titles are not included in that. And next steps, the report came, of course, with shopping lists for us. So our selectors are reviewing those shopping lists. It includes titles that we don't currently have in our collection that we might want to include just to continue to diversify our offerings. So selectors are looking at those lists and working with the collection development policy to select titles on those lists that might be a good fit for our collection. We'll continue to make data-driven decisions and follow the collection development policy. And again, we'll use this data as a baseline as we move into the new strategic plan.
All right, thanks so much for that presentation. Any comments or questions from the board?
I was curious why the Spanish collection wasn't included. Or any other language, like why wouldn't that be included? That seems sort of an important component of being able to serve diverse populations, actually having books in other languages.
I agree, and I wish it was. And the Spanish language materials are one of the areas where we have the most difficulty in obtaining materials. So it could be that Ingram doesn't have a lot of the Spanish language titles in their database, perhaps. Many of them aren't published in the United States, so it could be that they just don't have enough information on those titles. But I will mention, we just sent 2 librarians to Mexico for an international book fair. And they spent a lot of money, and we're getting a lot more Spanish titles for our collection for all audiences. So we are, even though that wasn't included in this, we're still being really mindful of that collection. I'm sure it's going to be.
And one of the challenge, I'm sorry, just to add to that.
Thank you.
I wasn't cutting you off. US publishers have been a lot better in the last decade or so translating books into Spanish. So your James Pattersons and what have you, Colleen Hoover's. You get translated editions of those, and those are kind of easy because they come with American ISBNs. It's those books from across the border that are a challenge to get information on. And it's also a challenge for us to connect with our communities on, you know. It's hard to find a book on how to do plumbing in Spanish. How many Spanish speakers in Santa Cruz County actually work as plumbers or want to be plumbers? So that's the kind of reason why we send staff to the Guadalajara Book Fairs, to see if we can find some of that tranche of materials to bring back in and see if that will actually perform in the way.
That's great. Do we have any public comment on this item? Online or otherwise? Seeing that, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and then the next item we do need to take action on, which is election of chair and vice chair for 2026. Here we are again.
Here we are again. Well, I would move Molly as chair and Will as vice chair for 2026.
I strongly support that as well. Thank you for the motion. All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Thank you, Chair Huffaker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Fearlessly.
Happy to do my part. Do my part for most of the meetings. Comments by board members. Final remarks today as we close out the year.
Just thank you to Christopher, thank you to library staff, you guys did an amazing job, really appreciate all that you do for our communities and moving us forward.
I second that. I think we've got one of the premier library systems, not just in the state, but the country, and really a testament of the work that our staff do every day. So thank you for that.
And friends.
And the friends, of course. We're missed to not mention the friends. Couldn't do it without. All right, and then I'll just note our next upcoming meeting is on February 5th at 9 a.m. at the Aptos Library Branch. And we'll go ahead and adjourn for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.